She felt the faint old echo of death touch her with icy nails as the man she had loved drifted away and into the stars. Lynn watched with wet eyes. His hair moved in the breeze while the old harvester's arms carried him. The man never saw her eyes cry. He hadn't heard her voice when he left. Omega closed the sky and the clouds covered up the world. The sun rose after sleeping, and that deep pain struck her as soon as she opened her eyes. He didn't feel gone. This was not all there was. She was breaking like thin glass. Lynn's heart would not yield to the illusions of Omega, so she erased the lids of her eyes and began searching for her dead love. She built a rocket, fueled it with the pain from her love's passing, and fired herself into the skies. Space was dark. Quiet, twinkling lights turned fast into mountains of fire. She turned and headed for the highest one. The harvester was near. She could smell his smoke of cloves and cardamom. The fire she chose was vast, and it stretched like an ocean through its black, quiet universe. It presented itself like the god of stars. She soon realized something dire. She could not enter this dimension without leaving behind her own life. So she turned away in panic, slowing down her rocket ship and watching the flames from a safe space. Her mortal fear was too great, yet her love stung so sharp she couldn't see anything else. She was isolated here. Everyone else believed the Omega's lies, yet she was determined to find a way to her lover without letting the harvester have her life. Lynn returned home in her blackened rocket ship. Back on Earth, Lynn sat in front of candle flames with her pepper milk. She tried to wash away sorrow in her belly with a slow burn. She spent nights with a poisoned arrow and bow, looking backwards to see if the harvester was there. He never was, but there was something watching her from the shadows. One night, as she stepped dripping from the bath, she stared into the mirror and noticed a small shift in the glass. Its subtle energy crept into her neck, making it feel like she would choke. She held her throat and opened her mouth. A tiny spark of light jumped into her open lips. She swallowed it before she understood what had happened. Then there was nothing. The confusion lingered as she rubbed the strange feeling away. Lynn tried lying down on her bed in the dark, but even after several days and nights, sleep did not come. She sat up, sweating and thinking about the funny feeling in her throat. She walked back to the mirror. The spark was gone, but there remained some feeling of moving energy between her and that mirror. Could this be a portal? The memory of his eyes gave way to pain in her stomach, and she ran to the kitchen to burn it away with more pepper milk. Little creepy devils loitered in her house, teasing her nerves and pecking at her head like birds salvaging swamps. Her feet felt the clammy floor. On her way back to the bathroom mirror, she stepped on something moving in the dark. It had to be the harvester. He wouldn't show his face, but he would let her touch his silk coat sliding by on the floor, but he was nowhere. There was nothing, nor no one, except all those little devils. She stood in front of her mirror, its face slowly becoming a familiar, safe place. She went silent, and her breath calmed. Lynn felt that subtle movement in the dark and opened her mouth again. As she took in the stale air, Her head felt weak and she began to see something. It was a subtle, whispering reflection of her love's face looking back at her, and she could feel his energy in her throat. This had to be a door. Still feeling dizzy, she fell and smacked her head on the porcelain sink. As she hit the floor, her spirit snuck out and into the mirror to find the man who was stolen away. She knew he still existed. The Harvester and Omega could not hide him from her forever. Lynn's spirit looked back at her body from the glass, promising to return. Her fair body slept on the sound, cold floor for 3 days. But her spirit danced through space, urgently looking and finding many peculiar things drifting around the stars. There were thousands of portals, very small and unable to take solid mass through their tunnels to the land of the dead. But spirits could ride those highways, for spirits were small and they could move really fast. They could easily fit into these universal veins. She saw glimpses of others traveling on trains of light, weaving in and out of space-time on strange pathways. Flashes of illumination would open the black mist and reveal an occasional face. There were peacocks and prawns, men and women, and time was slipping frantic and impulsively through the electrical threads of this giant collection of life and death. It almost seemed fruitless to try and find one more soul among so many and so vast a space. She fell back towards her mirror, gracefully slipping back into the body on the floor. When she woke up, the pain struck again. She'd been so close, yet so distant from his face. She felt defeated. There were a million souls up there, traveling like busy insects and trying to find more things to do. Where was he? Where was he now?